Wildfires are deadly for wildlife. They damage underlying soil and even marshland. With record-breaking heat waves, fire services across the UK reported more than 750 wildfires by August 2022, more than 3 times the number for the whole of 2021.
And just to put into context, wildfires classification, a wildfire has to be bigger than a hectare. So we're not talking about a small grassland fire in somebody's garden, we're talking about a big damaging wildfire. And the Met Office have predicted that wildfires will only increase in the future, and that is also in line with what governments around the world have basically said regarding wildfire linked to climate change and human activity as well. So it does look like we are going to be seeing more wildfires in the future.
Controlled fires work for wildlife. They create firebreaks and allow regeneration of plant life. Gamekeepers who manage the UK's moors and uplands are the firefighters' greatest allies.
The relationship is very important. It allows us to have somebody who's familiar with the terrain, the access routes, the type of vegetation. By working together, we can obviously be more proactive in dealing with the fires, utilisation of their equipment in creating fire breaks such as tractors for the landowners and farmers. And by having that proactive relationship, it allows us to deploy more efficiently and also gives us a watching brief over the land. So we do have contact numbers and it allows us that direct contact in that response should we need to.
The flames and smoke from one lowland wildfire in Norfolk in July 2022 could be seen from miles away. The fire damaged 120 acres here on marshland that's managed by the Heacham Wildfowlers Club. The group, which shoots ducks and geese, has been working to restore the habitat.
The flames were too big and the heat and the smoke, we couldn't control it. We was backwards and forwards along the bank looking for the wildlife, trying to rescue it, getting the muntjac out and different birds. Sadly, we lost some. We couldn't help that. That's beyond us because the flames and the heat and the smoke was just horrendous. It's unbelievable. It was going quicker than a human could actually run. And the heat and some of the poor animals just couldn't get out of the way.
The fire broke out here on the hottest day of the year. Temperatures were above 40 degrees. This marshland is not alone. In August, Norfolk fire crews battled a blaze 30 miles away at Salthouse Nature Reserve. As summers get hotter, the risks of more fires is rising, unless landowners and land managers follow the example set by moorland gamekeepers.
The shooting community and the gamekeepers have been leading the way with this stuff. They've been shouting about wildfire for the past 20, 30 years. They've seen this on the horizon, they've known what was coming, and they've managed their moorlands to make sure that the wildfire risk on driven grouse moors, or on managed grouse moors if you like, is much less of a risk than it is in other areas. So they've been doing some cracking work.
If you do not manage vegetation, you are asking for trouble, not just on your own land holdings, but on your neighbouring land holdings. And for the RSPB to actually call for a ban on all burning, I find quite unbelievable. They are creating a significant risk. And I would go so far as to say that their actions are irresponsible.
Heacham Wildfowlers Club leases 250 acres from the 4,000-acre Ken Hill estate, which also runs Wild Ken Hill, a walked-up partridge shoot and nature reserve that's the filming base for BBC's Springwatch. Ken Hill hit the news in 2021 when it pulled out of a project to release white-tailed eagles. Owned by the Buskell family, it prides itself on access to the public. Darren believes the fire may have been started because of a discarded cigarette or bottle.
A bit of sun on the glass could do anything. I mean, when the fire was burning, me and one of the firemen, we watched an ember go up in the air and hit a bit of grass. It was just like someone had chucked petrol on the grass. It just whoosh, it went. It was so dry.
It's about personal responsibility. And if you're coming to visit, don't bring any materials which could ignite, whether it's smoking materials, having portable barbecues.
The blackened earth and charged vegetation are a sombre reminder of the devastation a fire can cause, though there are already green shoots pushing through. It will take around 5 years for this land to fully recover from the fire.
Sad day, and people have got to, hopefully the members of the public can learn from it, learn from our mistakes. take your rubbish home, no discarded cigarettes, and hopefully it'll never happen again. I mean, this, to me, in my mind, is going to take 5 years to get back, to rejuvenate yourself. God forbid we don't want it to get back and that happen again, because it's just knock-on effects. It's going to take longer and longer for wildlife to come back.
Across huge swathes of the country, there is a real concern for the regularity of wildfires. We're particularly concerned about wildfires on moorland habitats because the moorlands and the grouse moors are part of some of the biggest carbon store in the country in peatlands. And if you look at one wildfire, quite a famous one that you might have heard of in Saddleworth Moor back in 2018, Saddleworth Moor emitted the same amount of carbon as the annual use of 100,000 family cars, and that went up into the air in 3 weeks. So you can see how much carbon can disappear in a wildfire, not to mention the damage it can have for biodiversity and how many years that takes to recover, and the damage that it can have for broader biodiversity as well, so for ground nesting birds and reptiles and insects. So a hugely devastating thing.
The fire has been a tough lesson that all land now needs the same kind of fire prevention work that gamekeepers do on the UK's uplands. In the past, it would be unusual for wildfowling associations to actively manage the conservation on the areas they look after. In the future, the Heacham Wildfowlers Club is determined to do whatever is necessary to prevent such devastation.
We might put a fire break in if we can. It's got to be a big fire break, because how the flames were and how it went up so quick, well, I think we'll have a hell of a job, you know, because how the environment is down here, it's all overgrown, it's reeds, it's grass, it's all done for nature.
The Wildfowling Club has set up a Just Giving page to raise £3,000 to carry out fire prevention and repair work.